Without further ado, today's speaker is Cristian Mihaita, as you can see from his name tag. He has been a .NET developer with Maxcode for almost 5 years, right?
Yes.
Yes. So yeah, during these 5 years, he proved and grew to be not just a skilled developer and programmer, also a key team member in Team Blue, taking on roles such as Scrum Master. Always happy to share his knowledge in training day sessions, learning clubs, and today during our meetup, when you will watch him live as he will be cooking with Monitor Workbooks. Christy, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Andrea. Well, glad to see all the people gathered here. And well, let's start. Welcome to my presentation. Today I will present cooking with Monitor Workbooks. As Andrea said, my name is Mihaita Cristian Constantin. I'm a software developer, mostly dealing with Microsoft technology stacks such as .NET, ASP.NET Framework, .NET Core and ASP.NET Core Framework, TypeScript, Node.js, and sort of the star of this little presentation here, Azure Tech Stack. So, it's pretty safe to assume that, a lot of people, if not everyone, I'm sorry for this picture, but yeah, everybody loves food, right? But not everyone really enjoys making it. There are some that really, really enjoy making food, and there are some that just enjoy eating it. But it is necessary for our continued existence. And if I can draw a parallel here, as food is necessary for a person, well, for developers and yeah, computer scientists, you could say that logs are just as necessary, at least for any developer worth their salt, if I can make here a very bad joke. So let's look a bit into maybe a scene, a scenario that a lot of you have been. So it's morning, you just arrived at your work, you go to the kitchen, maybe grab your morning work coffee, maybe exchange some chit chat with your coworkers while the coffee machine burrs away and makes your delicious morning work coffee. And well, you sit down on your PC, log in, and boom, errors, 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 a lot of errors. What's happening? What's not working? Well, it says that yeah, there are a lot of errors. Look at us. And well, two things will happen here depending on your personal experience. You know the app to perfection. You're visualizing in your head every dependency and every call through each component. You know what component needs. You know exactly what the issue might be, so you strap on and you slowly go down the call stack until you find the issue. Or scenario B, you know somebody that knows the app to perfection and how every component interacts and knows exactly what the stack does, and you ask, why doesn't it work, help me. And again, both of you go through all the lines of logs and try to figure out what is happening. Now, in my opinion, these logs are well, they are too easy, or they are easy to make. Logs, of course, are beautiful, but we make logs in order to deliver information. If I were to compare these kind of logs to like something related to food, I would say that they are basically breakfast cereal. Everybody can make them. It's not that hard. It doesn't take that much thinking and even time, but you can't really call yourself a cook for making a breakfast cereal, right? But don't worry, there are better ways. And I'm here to present to you at least one way, which is workbooks. So let's talk about workbooks. And first, before talking about workbooks, like any cook, we need to know about the salt and pepper. So basically, the salt and pepper for any workbooks are the metrics and logs. These are data in the form of metrics and logs, well, just as they're called, that serve various components. They extract the data from applications, operating systems, Azure resources, subscriptions, even custom sources, and they deliver them to various agents. We have the insight agent or insight rectangle, which is which gathers all the information and enables you to aggregate data and see, well, a bit deeper. We have the visualize rectangle, which deals with presenting the data in an easy to the eye manner, so to speak. We have the analyze rectangle, the respond rectangle, which uses these data to send various alerts, or even if you're feeling fancy, using autoscale. And of course, we have the integrate rectangle. Let's see what else. How are we cooking? Well, just like chefs have knives and pans, we have a KQL, or a Custa query language. What is Custa query language, you might ask? Well, it's a query language created by Microsoft that uses the Custa engine to query big data sets, basically data from various services from Azure. To help us, Microsoft has released two demo workspaces, one for log analytics and another one for application insights. If this is going to do it, let's see if I have it open. A bit of a spoiler here. Let me see if I can copy the link. So I can show you a bit how at least KQL works when integrating with our data. So if I go to open this here, this is the LA demo. As you can see, it did not ask for me to log in, even though I am, well, logged in, but you don't, if you do not have if you do not have an account, it will just say I am a guest. Now, so I can give an example of what this can do. We have here Query Explorer with various queries put to our disposal in order to see exactly what is this Custo language all about. If I run this, I get the heartbeat. There are various data points, so to speak, that I can find here. There are a lot. I'm not going to go through all of them. But basically anything that you can think of a metric or a log, it's here. And as you can see, I am summarizing the the heartbeat of various machines, and I'm summarizing them by the OS type, the time, how long ago they were generated, location, IP, all of that. This is just one very simple example of what this KQL can do. I can have ginormous queries and that do various type aggregating, selecting, projecting in bars, in charts. Let me see. Oh, I can't do it for this one. But we're gonna get to the frosting a bit later if I say so myself. Let's see. Okay. Now, let's talk a bit about French cuisine. What do we know about French cuisine? We know that, well, first of all, it's expensive. At least if anybody went to a restaurant, a French restaurant, and ate something, can tell you. But they're also beautiful. The beauty in their presentation is because they are compact and also bite-sized chunks. You can see exactly what you're gonna eat and you're gonna enjoy it. We can draw a bit of a parallel here with writing logs. They require a lot of time to prepare and to write at least proper logs, which here you can say that they are expensive because yes, they do cost developing hours, but they also need to be compact and convey the right amount of information, just like a bite-sized French pastry. But not just that, it needs to presentation is also very important because again we are visual creatures. I can sit and read like a novel full of thousands of lines of code, and I can spend half an hour reading log after log after log with just a millisecond difference and try to aggregate everything that was happening. But if I have some kind of mechanism that can show me in just one nice graphic or visual presentation, I can tell immediately what is have extracted a lot more information from them than just from one line of code. So let's talk about monitor workbooks. This is how monitor workbooks look like. They enable us to see real-time metrics in order to assemble information dense and compact visual constructs. Uh, as you can see here, there are a lot of pretty colors and pretty forms. However, you don't even need to know what the application does. You can look at these graphics and tell, okay, so this is something is happening here in this orange corner, but everything else is working fine. Okay, so if there's an issue or if I get a lot of errors, I know that this is the culprit. Or I can see, oh, there was a spike in requests. Okay, so I know exactly what kind of requests are causing the spike, so it's much easier to figure out and, well, try to fix the issue. Now, I prepared for you a small little demo. If I can show, here you go. Not okay. I had an ARM and I created a little resource group here with a virtual machine, as you can see here, with a small API that basically gets called by a logic app, gets called every 30 minutes and creates a lot of threads and a lot of entries in a database, so I can have at least some spikes here, so everything will look nice, not just a flat line. Okay, so let's create a workbook, shall we? We're gonna go here in search and go to monitor. And as you can see here, I have workbooks. Azure already gives us some templates. We have workbooks for machines, applications. These are just some small templates. However, if you have, for example, I have this virtual machine is connected to the workspace. If I go to a workbook in relation to a machine, for example, this one, key metrics, I can already see the status of the machine. As you can see, it's already connected. I didn't have to write anything. It's already here. If I go in the past, let's say 12 hours, I can see that there were some spikes. I made try to see exactly how strong can this VM go. If I click here, I already have some extra information such as CPU percentage, disks. Yes. And if I want to, I can even edit this workbook, and make it my own. Oh, didn't click. And make it my own. However, everything is all nice and good, but maybe I want to write one from the start. Let's write one. Go here to empty. So I want to create a workbook that checks the VM performance, for example, or VM availability. Okay, I can add text. This uses the Markdown language, so I can make a title, let's say VM performance, and let's just keep it to performance. And small one, check VM performance. Oh, already knows. Thank you. But that's not really enough, is it? Let's go and add one. Metric. If I go to metric, let's see. I want metric related to a virtual machine. And select the machine, of course. This one. And let's see what kind of metric I have. Host. I think I'm gonna go with CPU percentage, average, give it a name. It can be any name. Let's see. And if I run it, I already have it here. If I so wish to, I can create alert rules. I can and I can even open this in the metrics explorer, so I can do a lot of customization. Oh, yeah, there you go. Yes, yes. I don't want to save. Just want to show. Okay. Now let's see. That's not all that we have. Now I can write one from scratch. If I go back to the presentation, I've sorry. I just need the link. I pulled the sneaky one on you. I have. There are some GitHub links that are available where you have templates. You community templates where you can find a lot of scenarios that people have found useful to have useful to have a monitor book, and they publish there for your own choosing, for your own use. Sorry. So okay, found it. Sorry, I had to change at one point PCs because of the network issue. So if I go here, I can go to empty and I can go to the advanced editor. Now, advanced editor, because I can even deploy, for those at least that know Azure in general and Azure deployment in general, I can even deploy workbooks in the form of ARM templates. So these are easy to share, easy to give. If I go this one and apply, there you go. This one is for failure analysis. And as I can already see here, I have all the requests, the success rate. I could have written this by hand, but I just found it useful to, use this template because I could use it. This is especially useful when trying to see where the issue is, seeing all the requests, if there were any failed requests over time, if any other failures have arrived, which are the new ones. But that's not all. I can also pin them. Now, pinning is very important because you can pin it to a dashboard, either a private dashboard that you have it with all of your little projects, or if you're working on multiple projects, or you can even pin them to a shared dashboard, which is a dashboard shared with either a team or maybe with just some specific individuals. I can either pin them all, or I can even or I can build them individually. For example, this one, if I pin, it asks me if I want to pin it to a private shared, but I'm gonna just gonna create a new one. Here, let's see, demo dash. Here, I can have multiple and I can move them around. And I can just have this dashboard somewhere, and when I open my PC, I can just look at it and see exactly the status. Or I can even have it on some monitor in the middle. I'm sure some of you have experienced this, having it in the middle of the office, and when you grab your coffee, just take a little peek at it, and you see exactly what's the status of the applications. It provides data transparency. Everybody can see, like, when there is an issue, everybody knows that there is an issue, and exactly that who is working on what. You have that coffee moment when somebody comes in to ask something, but they see that, oh nope, there's an issue. I'm not going to bother them right now. Maybe somebody's going to bring a coffee. I don't know, just saying. But also these dashboards are also you're able to deploy them through ARM. so it's easy to share them around. If you are curious about workbooks and templates, I have here provided the links to the GitHub repos. They contain various scenarios and very useful workbooks, at least to start. But that's all in good. You might ask, like, okay, but is this actually useful? Well, yes. As a matter of fact, we are, at least in one of the projects that I'm working on, we are actively using dashboards. For example, sorry, dashboards, workbooks. For example, we have here a graph showing the failure rates trends as well as request volumes. This little check here, it tells us that there was a deployment made at that time. So we can tell that if there is a failure, if it's very close to the deployment, maybe that something in the deployment was the cause of the issue, or we can exclude that. Here's another example for exception trends, because DevOps is nice and all, but we are developers, we are dealing with code. Well, here we have exception trends. We can see exception was trending, so to speak. It had more volume, and we can even see if there were any new exceptions in a time frame. For example, after a deployment, we open this workbook and we see, oh, that's interesting. Right after deployment, this exception appeared, and keeps also, you can see the affected users. Maybe it's just one user that is affected, so maybe you have to check that scenario, or if there are a lot of users, then yeah, you have to get right on it. Now, that's well and good, but maybe you are not a fan of workbooks. I totally understand. Oh, sorry, Azure workbooks. I totally understand. However, they are not just for Azure. The Amazon also has something called Amazon CloudWatch that has something very similar to this. But if you're feeling a bit more, I don't know, rebellious, not to not be tied to a corporation, there's also Cabana from Elastic. Oh, it's not affiliated with. If you don't like affiliations with big companies, but yeah, it provides also something very similar. And yeah, that's all for my presentation. You have any questions?
Yeah, Christy, so you showed us some examples on Azure and also on AWS. Which one is your favorite and why?
Well, if I were to pick my favorite, it's a very hard choice, but I think I'm gonna go with Azure. Well, I'm a bit biased here because I have more experience there at least, and yeah, but that's just me talking. But from what I found, I did a bit of research, and yes, they are very similar. If you have applications that are hosted on the AWS services, then yes, I highly recommend you start your own little workbook and present it to your team, because there's always that one person that finds something and just bugs the whole team to use it. And you can be that person.
I wanted to ask, what challenges have you faced using workbooks in the project you're working on, or projects?
Well, challenges, it very much depends on the how deep do you want to go. First, the challenge was learning a new language, the KQL. It is a scripting language, so it wasn't that hard, but it does have some interesting scenarios. And again, the next challenge was, once I unlocked this roadblock, was the amount of data that workbooks can interact with, and the various ways you can put it in the oven, so to speak, and have nice visuals, and exactly what kind of visuals you have. And yeah, that for me at least, that was the biggest challenge. what is important? That is a question that has go a lot of developers writing logs.
We have a question in the chat from Stefan. Do you feel workbooks are more useful in sharing specific troubleshooting knowledge of an application or in sharing knowledge of Custo query language?
When encountering issues, if you are using Azure as a hosting technology, then having knowledge of Custo is very, very useful. For me, at least, workbooks are good in conveying data and exactly what is the status of the application. So I'm gonna go with both, but first Custo and then then the latter.
Christy, from your experience, are there any pitfalls we need to be aware of when working with workbooks?
Pitfalls. Yes, in my opinion, workbooks are great, but it can be an issue when you have maybe too many. That's one of the pitfalls you can tell, because then you need to have exact or too many. Let me put it another way: too dense. If you open a dashboard, you shouldn't, with workbooks pinned, you shouldn't, in my opinion, you shouldn't have all the information. You should have exactly the specific information that tells you the most important status. So yeah, the pitfall would be just writing workbooks nonstop instead of specializing them. For example, you can have a workbook with many graphs that is specialized for when deploying a new version. But that one does not need to be necessarily pinned to the dashboard. It can just be opened when you know that you have a new deployment, and yeah, you know that you have to monitor, or maybe make a new dashboard specific for that. But it shouldn't be. It should not be overpopulated, because too much information, it was that saying that when everybody's special, nobody's special.
Okay. We have another question to chat from Mario. Application insights versus Azure Monitor.
Well, it depends.
Yeah.
Yeah, it depends on what exactly you're working for. As in, like, application insights are very good for querying on the spot. So because it has all the logs, and it also has custom logs, while monitor, it has everything. So in my opinion, Azure Monitor is for the state of now, while application insights is for why is this not working. If that response is good enough.
Okay, we have another question from Gennady. How about cost? Does it come free with Azure?
It does come part of Azure. Now, when it comes to cost, it costs as much as it uses, so to speak. So it doesn't have like a subscription base. It's consumer consumption based. So yeah, it depends how much do you want to use it. If we're talking about monetary costs. Now, costs when it comes to developer hours, just like any technology, it takes a while to get into it, but after that, it it comes naturally.
Christy, are there any, I don't know, limitations on KQL that you have noticed while creating workbooks?
One, maybe, I don't know if I can call this a limitation or not, but an issue with KQL at least is that if you want to do something very, very specific, you can even look for if you have like guides online. So yeah, when you get to a certain point, KQL scripts can look a bit monstrous. It's a bit scary when you look at first and see a whole page of scripts, of one script that does just one thing, trying to aggregate everything and project. But yeah, in my opinion, at least so far, I did not find any pitfall. It's a powerful tool that has connections to a lot of different data sources. So yeah.
Okay, thank you. We have a question from Ciprian. What does it take to pin the graph of failures versus traffic in a web application, even the one it monitors?
This is a bit of inception.
Yeah, a bit.
You have an admin part in your web application, and I want to see as an admin, what's the state of my application, but not going to the portal in Azure. Yeah, can I have some easy capability for this?
My first instinct would be, yes, it would be. If you remember that Azure Monitor rectangles that I was talking about, the very last one was about exposing APIs and various logic constructs. Basically, we can use those to convey data from one source to another and enable the exposure of that data and also how to, well, show it, so to speak. So I haven't done this. I have not done this personally, but I did hear about it. Hear, as in read about it. So it should be possible.
It's nice. Thanks.
We have another one, another question. Can you set up alerts instead of just watching the dashboards?
Yes, there was above every part of every script or metric of that dashboard. There's also a little button that you have for setting up alerts. You can set up alerts so that, for example, CPU, if my CPU goes above 80 for this amount of time, send an alert, and it will just push a notification into an alert system, and the alert system will pick up from there. So yes, you can also have alerts instead of dashboards, instead of watching dashboards. Basically an alert, hey, check the dashboard, something's wrong.
Perfect. Thank you everyone for joining us today.
Bye-bye.